Justice Caucus, I want to welcome you to our first Fall 2020 event with many more to come. On behalf of the caucus, we thank you for being here today for this very important topic that disproportionately impacts many faculty of color. I want to thank Victoire from Folsom Lake College, one of our newest organizing team members, for their idea behind this event. We would also like to thank CFT, California Federation of Teachers, our state union, and also our national union, American Federation of Teachers, for their support in helping us bring the experts in the room for this discussion. So now I'll pass the mic on to Valerie.
Thank you so much, Veronica. My name is Valerie Batchelor, and I'm with this California Federation of Teachers. So today we're going to be discussing two programs that are going to be helping folks, with relieving student debt. First, we'll go over income-driven repayment plans, which are available in some form for all federal student loan borrowers and may be able to help you lower your payments. Next, we'll be discussing public service loan forgiveness. This is a program for people who work in all levels of government and for nonprofits, and can lead to having some of your student debt forgiven after 120 on-time payments, and if you qualify. Public service loan forgiveness is more generous and has fewer restrictions in the teacher loan forgiveness program that folks may have heard about. So while getting people individual relief is obviously really important, we also need to think about this in the collective response to help solve this issue locally and nationally, so that we are not only ensuring that these programs remain available, but preventing further generations of members and other teachers from finding themselves in these situations. That is why AFT, part of their work is that they're suing the Betsy DeVos administration on behalf of all members for failing to promote and implement these programs. And that's why we're supporting legislation also to try to cancel student debt. This is also why we're offering debt clinics like this to provide information and resources to our members as we build a strong union so that we can support problem solving both inside and outside of our workplaces. Today you'll be hearing from Nicole from AFT about some changes that made by the student loan programs during the pandemic and some steps our national union is taking on student loans or student debt. You'll also hear from Ella from Summer, who leads the partnership with AFT. She'll show you a preview of the platform and how the student loan expert team can help you simplify the process of enrolling directly online and walking you through how to sign up today. We will also be sending you a resource guide after this webinar and some information on how to sign up for Summer. We are recording the information section of this webinar. So once we get to the Q&A, we'll stop the recording and take questions from the chat. And if time allows, we'll take some more questions from the audience. So please, if you have any questions that come up throughout the training, please go ahead and put it into the chat. So we have about 2 hours to get through all of this. So let's get to it. Victoire, can you give us a little overview as of the student debt crisis that we're facing?
I sure can. So a little context for us, we have 45 million people who have student debt, and 1 out of every 5 are in default. This means that they weren't able to make a payment over the last year, and that equals 9 million people, and millions more are struggling just to make their monthly payments. So when that many people are struggling, we know that the problem is not the people, the problem is with the system itself. And although millions of individuals are struggling under the common burden of student debt in their pursuit of higher education, we must understand that the burden of student debt, like so many other burdens, is an intersectional one, meaning that student debt is bad for everyone, but on average, it's even worse if you're Black or brown, older, or if you're a woman. So Black student loan borrowers typically take on more debt than white borrowers due to the racial wealth gap, and they're struggling to repay those monies. And Black borrowers are more than 3 times more likely to default than white borrowers, and Hispanic borrowers are more than twice as likely to default. So now, before you fall back on stereotypes about Black people and Latinx people, and stereotypes like that we're poor or lazy or bad savers, we want to break down some more of those issues. So an Associated Press analysis found that a white worker had a far better chance than a Black one of holding a job in 11 categories with the highest median annual salaries, as listed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So for example, the ratio of white to Black workers is about 10-1 in those management positions, 8-1 in computers and mathematics, 12-1 in law, and 7-1 in education, compared to a ratio of 5.5 white workers for every Black one in all jobs nationally. And what this means is that the same article lists some of the following reasons: substandard schools in low-income neighborhoods, white-dominated cliques in different offices, boardrooms that prefer familiarity to diversity, so they hire each other, discriminatory hiring practices, companies that claim a lack of qualified candidates but have no programs to train minority or minoritized talents. And some also say investors are more likely to support white startups. So all of these things lead to Black people and Latinx people being behind the curve in order to repay those loans, even when they get their degrees. So following graduation, women repay their loans more slowly than men do, in part because of the gendered pay gap. Women with student debt, especially women of color, are the most likely to experience difficulties during repayment. And those who are repaying student loans reported that they have been unable to meet essential expenses within the past year, up to 34% of women. So while we may think of student debt as a problem affecting primarily young people, it's actually a cross-generational issue. Older Americans are defaulting on student debt more than anyone. Surprising, right? Even though they're a tiny slice of the student debt portfolio. In 2013, nearly 114,000 student loan borrowers over 50 years old were losing out on a portion of their Social Security benefits because they were in default on their student debt. And there's no reason to think that situation has improved since then. In fact, it's probably worsened. So once we put all of this together, it's very clear that student loan debt isn't just an individual issue. When 9 million people can't afford to pay back their student loans, we should stop asking what they're doing wrong and start asking what's wrong with the system that's causing so many people to struggle.
Thanks, Victoire, and you have one more slide.
Okay. So 8 and 10 say, this is a response to the survey. Okay. How big of a problem is student debt for AFT members? 8 and 10 say a major burden or challenge. 97% say it causes stress. 80% say they lost sleep over it, and 73% say it's a family strain. That's most, more than the majority. So 78% say they have missed a payment this year, and 1 in 3 are in default. 64% have had to cut food or other expenses. 42% have delayed medical care. That's crazy. Much worse for Black AFT members, 72% say student debt is a major household burden. So if you're experiencing this burden, you are not alone.
Thank you so much, Victoire. So now just a few quick things to note before we dive in. We are not financial advisors. We may seem really smart and know a lot, but we are not financial advisors. So we are going to provide you with an overview of these programs, not give you personal financial advice. We offer these clinics because we know Betsy DeVos and the student loan servicers will provide this information for you, but questions may come up that we don't know the answers to. So when that happens, we're going to put those questions into what we call the parking lot. Victoire is going to keep track of that, and we're going to go ahead and try to get those questions answered and follow up with you individually. The information about how these programs work will help you make informed financial decisions about managing your student loan debt, but you should make those decisions talking to your family and probably a financial advisor. When looking for a financial advisor, you should look for someone with a fiduciary responsibility to you, and that means they are required by law to pursue your interests when giving you financial information. Another quick note, I'll be doing a lot of reading through this webinar because this material is very dense and detail oriented, and details are very important. So if you have questions, please go ahead and type them out in the chat. I'll review them when Ella is presenting Summer, and then we'll get to them in the Q&A. So before we get started, we're going to talk about some of the changes that have happened kind of back and forth in Washington with COVID-19. Nicole, did you want to talk to us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so again, my name is Nicole Hochsprung. I work at AFT National. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., where a lot of changes coming from two different directions have made changes that you or some of you are probably experiencing to your federal student loans. So here, just to kind of go back over the kind of timeline of what has happened, very early in the pandemic, Trump announced that he was going to waive payment and interest. This was announced at a press conference and was followed up with an executive order that did that shortly. This was also during the negotiations for further relief from Congress. So the next thing that happened was that all payments for federally owned student loans, which are the direct loan program, and federally backed federal family education loans, those payments were suspended by the CARES Act until September 30th. And they specified in the CARES Act a couple of important things, including that no interest should be charged, that these suspended payments would count towards public service loan forgiveness, and some other consumer safeguards. The payment suspension, as it was getting closer, and if you have been reading the news, that Congress was getting closer to and then backing away from passing some follow-up stimulus to the CARES Act, the executive branch once again decided to intervene, and so from their direction they suspended payments again by executive order, and they waived the interest. The interest is actually being forgiven by the Department of Education using their student loan forgiveness authority. The Department of Education does have the authority so Congress has the authority to set the interest rates on student loans, and for this period under the CARES Act, they set it to 0. But the executive branch has the authority to forgive student debt. We did not think it was likely that Betsy DeVos would be someone who would exercise this authority, but in fact, they are forgiving the interest until the end of the year. What you may or may not be noticing is that student loan servicers are kind of playing catch up to this. By now, we hope that your payments, in fact, are being suspended if you have federally owned loans. But a lot of these systems did not anticipate these changes. So please watch your notices closely. And we can talk kind of more about any payments any individual participants are experiencing. The other things I want to point out is that unfortunately, no such latitude has been given yet to commercially held FFEL loans, which are an older style of federal student loans. They were the kind of student loans that were available when I was going to college. Perkins loans, which are loans that you get through your institution, the institution you attended, and then private loans that you might have from a bank like Wells Fargo or from an institution like Sallie Mae. So those don't have this, this payment pause does not impact those types of loans. And then I kind of want to return again to this issue of authority. So Congress can change the laws governing student loans. Only Congress could, make a new repayment plan, change the interest rate, create or uncreate programs like public service loan forgiveness. That's really important to know that only Congress can do that. But the Department of Education, because the way that direct loans are set up, those are loans owned by the federal government, owned by the Treasury, and the federal government does have some authority over whether they collect on those or not. So what does this mean for you? Again, we can get into more detailed questions based on what you're experiencing, but here are some kind of additional steps to take during, some of which you may have already taken. One is you can cancel your auto pay. So you should turn off, if you have auto pay for your student loans, you can turn that off. You can request a refund of any payments that were sent after March 13th. You may enroll in or recertify your income-driven repayment plan. We're going to get into the details of income-driven repayment plans next, but if you're already in one, you may know that you have to recertify your income every year. And servicers are continuing to reach out to borrowers whose deadlines are approaching. That is normal. You may continue that recertification process. You may choose to proactively recertify your income-driven repayment plan, especially if your income has gone down. So when payments are turned back on, we're not 100% sure when that might be, but that it would reflect the income that you're making now. If you have a garnishment, if your wages are being garnished, you should speak with your human resources department to have that garnishment paused. This was also part of the CARES Act to suspend any garnishment of federal student loans. Unfortunately, I said in the previous slide that servicers had not caught up with that change, did not anticipate that change. Well, debt collectors are even worse about this. So please get in touch with your human resources department, get in touch with your union representative, feel free to get in touch with me as we continue to work to make sure that people are getting the protection that they need under the CARES Act.
Let me unmute myself. Another, Zoom faux pas. So thank you so much, Nicole. Nicole's going to pop up again in the Q&A. So if you have questions, please go ahead and put them into the chat and we can get to that as well. So let's get started, and we'll start at the beginning. So when you leave school, you're automatically placed into a 6-month grace period in which you don't have to make any payments on your student loans. So once that grace period ends, you're automatically placed in what's called the 10-year standard repayment plan. This repayment plan is similar to a fixed mortgage. The way that they figure out how much you pay is very simple. They calculate how much you would have to pay every single month to pay off your debt in 10 years, and that's how much they ask for. In addition to the 10-year 10-year standard repayment plan, there are 50 other types of repayment plans that are confusing and very overwhelming. The people who are supposed to help you navigate the system are called student loan servicers, and no matter what type of student loan you have, you'll have a servicer. If you have, you may have heard of NailNet, FedLoan Servicing, Navient, Great Lakes. Those are all student loan servicers. When you talk to your servicer, they can make the process even more confusing by telling you every single repayment plan or about forbearance or deference. And as Nicole mentioned, those are not great things to do. So, which may leave you in potentially more debt and should typically be avoided, the forbearance or deference. But we're going to focus on 4 income-driven repayment plans that are best for most people. Income-driven repayment plans are repayment plans that base your monthly pay on your adjusted gross income and family size rather than how much you owe. Your payments through these plans can go as low as $0 a month, and these plans can even cancel your remaining student debt after 20 to 25 years, regardless of where you work. These plans are free to enroll, and you should never pay anyone to enroll you in them. Let me just say that one more time for the folks in the back. These plans are free to enroll, and you should never pay anyone to enroll you in them. There are thousands of scam companies that will charge you hundreds of dollars to do this for you, and you should never pay them. If you are contacted by one of them, please let us know and file a complaint with the State Attorney General immediately. Now, the repayment plans and forgiveness programs are for federal student loans, which make up 90% of all student loans today. There are different types of federal student loans, and some more common ones are listed on the slide. The types of loans you have will vary depending primarily on, first, when you took your loan on, and then whether you took it on for yourself or your child. What matters most is that it is a federal loan, and we'll talk about the difference between them throughout this session. Private student loans are not covered by any of this, any of what we're going to discuss today. For example, a private loan that does not qualify for public student service loan forgiveness or repayment plans, or like Sallie Mae Smart Option loans, student loans, or Citizen Bank student loans. It is important to note that you may have a federal student loan that is serviced by a private bank like SunTrust Bank. If you think that it's, and you might think that this is a private loan when it really isn't. Again, 90% of all student loans are federal loans. Check the loan name on your monthly bill, log on to your FSA account, or call your servicer to find out whether your loan is a federal loan or what kind of loan it is. Before we jump into income-driven repayment plans, there are a few things that we're going to define that could help us figure out which repayment plan is best for you. So 2 definitions. Discretionary income. Discretionary income is the difference between your adjusted gross income and 150% of the poverty line for your family size. Said another way, it's anything that you bring in that is over 150% of the poverty line for your discretionary income. Your discretionary income is calculated based on what you are reporting to the IRS as your adjusted gross income. That means any income going towards pre-tax items should not appear as income used to determine what you pay each month. For example, 401ks, 403bs, healthcare, and flex savings accounts shouldn't count. So family size. When it comes to income-driven repayment plans, your family size may be different from the number of exemptions you claim on your federal income tax return or the number of dependents you have as defined by the IRS. Family size may include you, your spouse, your children, no matter where they live, if you cover 50% of their living expenses. It can also include unborn children who will be born during the year in which you are certifying your income. We'll go over certification in a minute. Family size also includes other people. If they live with you now, receive more than half of their support from you now, and will continue to do so, and will continue to receive that support in the year that you are recertifying for your family size. And support can include housing. So if someone's living with you, like a family member or friend, food, clothing, medical and dental care, or paying for college costs. So remember those terms as we're looking into different repayment plans. So again, the 4 that we'll be talking about that are offered by the Department of Education as income-driven repayment plans are revised pay-as-you-earn, pay-as-you-earn, income-based repayment, and income contingent repayment. So the first one we'll talk about is revised pay-as-you-earn. So revised pay-as-you-earn limits your monthly student loan payments to 10% of your household's discretionary income. There is no cap on the monthly payments for revised pay-as-you-earn. So your adjusted gross income, so as your adjusted gross income rises, your payments can also rise. You are only eligible for this repayment plan if you have a direct loan. Loan cancellation happens after 20 years if you have only undergraduate loans, and after 25 years, even if you took out $1 for a graduate school. Now we're going to be talking about pay-as-you-earn. So pay-as-you-earn is the most generous repayment plan of the 4. It limits what you pay to 10% of your discretionary income, and the most you'll ever pay in your plan is capped at what you would have earned or what you would have paid in a 10-year standard repayment plan. Meaning that even if your salary increases a lot while you're repaying, there's a limit of how much, there's a limit of how high your monthly payment can go. To be eligible for this plan, you must have taken out your first federal loan on or after October 1st, 2007, and have received a loan disbursement on or after October 2011, and your loan needs to be a direct loan. After 20 years of payments, any remaining balance is canceled. That's one of the main differences there. So now, income-based repayment. So income-based repayment limits what you pay to 15% of your discretionary income. The most you'll ever pay into this plan is capped at what you would pay in a 10-year standard repayment plan. Your eligibility for income-based repayment, you're eligible if you have a direct loan or a federal family education loan, or FFEL, which was one of the loans that Nicole was talking about earlier. After 25 years of payments, any remaining balance is canceled. Next, the income contingent repayment. Income contingent repayment is very important for anyone with a Parent Plus loan, because this is the only plan those loans are eligible for. The rest of you will probably want to avoid it. Under this plan, you generally pay 20% of your discretionary income. There's no cap to income contingent repayments, so the amount you owe every month can keep going up if you're up with your discretionary income. Your eligibility for income contingent repayment, you're eligible if you have a direct loan, and after 25 years of payments, any remaining balance can be canceled. An important note when you're discussing discretionary income under income contingent repayment, your discretionary income is calculated differently under this plan. It is calculated it subtracts only 100% of the federal poverty line guidelines for your family from your adjusted gross income to figure out your discretionary income. That means more of your money is on the table for that loan payment. Married people and people considering getting married, listen closely. If you're eligible for more than one of these income-driven repayment plan options, and one of them is the revised pay-as-you-earn, there may be more important factors married people need to consider. In the plan, other than the revised pay-as-you-earn, a married borrower may include their spouse in their family size, and not include their spouse's income in their adjusted gross income, as long as they are filing taxes separately. Under revised pay-as-you-earn, the government determines your discretionary income based on your entire household's income, no matter how you file your taxes. So in revised pay-as-you-earn, your spouse's income will count towards your enrollment. Now, go ahead, Nicole. Now I know I threw a lot of information at you guys. So we're gonna go through an example of pay as you earn, which is again the most generous repayment plan, and to see how it actually works. So let's meet Anna. Anna's adjusted gross income is $45,000 a year. She is married and has 2 children. She graduated from college this past year and has $30,000 in direct loans. Under a 10-year standard repayment plan, she would owe $311 each month. So let's do the math to figure out how much she would pay under pay as you earn. So Anna's adjusted gross income is $45,000 a year. For a family of 4, 150% of the poverty line is $39,300. Subtract this amount from the adjusted gross income. So 45,000 minus 39,300. That means her discretionary income is $5,700. Because she's eligible for pay as you earn, you'd multiply this number by 10%, which gives you $570. That's what she'd pay over a year if so divide that up by 12, and you'd see that under pay as you earn, she would expect to pay $47.50 every month. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's totally different than $311 each month. Also, if her salary shoots up in the future, the most she would ever pay is $311. That's because pay as you earn is capped to what you would pay in a 10-year standard repayment plan. All right, folks, so a few things to keep in mind when you're talking about income-driven repayment plans. So first, you need to recertify your income at least once a year. Your servicer should email you or send you a letter saying that you need to recertify your income, but note the date on your own personal calendar too. If you don't recertify your income, you can still be part of an income-driven repayment plan, but you will be charged what you would pay in a 10-year standard plan. So for example, if Anna missed her recertification, she would go from paying $47.50 a month to paying $311 a month. That's a huge jump, right? If your income goes down, as Nicole was mentioning earlier, you should recertify your income immediately so that you can manage your payments and make sure you have extra financial flexibility that you need at that moment. Anytime your income declines or anytime your family size increases, recertify as soon as possible. Second, don't delay in enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan because you're not sure which plan you're eligible for. The income-driven repayment plan request form is in the resource guide that we're going to be sending out. On question 2, just mark PAYE, which is P-A-Y-E, for pay as you earn. This is the best income-driven repayment plan, and if you are eligible, you want to be in it. Now, if you're not eligible for pay as you earn, your servicer will switch you to one of the remaining plans that you are eligible for and that you are paying the lowest amount per month. If you apply online, it should automatically tell you which one you're eligible for and how much your payments are. Ella from Summer is also going to go over this shortly about how that system can help you navigate this as well. But remember, the sooner you move into one of these plans, the sooner you can start saving money each month. And again, $311 to $47.50, that's a huge savings right there. Third, Parent Plus loans are only eligible for income contingent repayment. But you must have a direct consolidation first. Parent Plus loans are excluded from most benefits provided by the federal government. But if you consolidate these loans, you may be eligible to enroll in income contingent repayment and public student loan forgiveness. We're going to talk about that second one in a second. It is very important that you do not consolidate your Parent Plus loans with any other federal student loans that you might have, as it will limit the options you have available to pay back your non-Parent Plus loans. To apply for income-driven repayment, just visit the website studentloan.gov to apply online and ask your servicer to send you the paper form, or ask your servicer to do that. If you apply online, which we recommend, you're going to be able to auto-populate your income information from the IRS, and it'll take less than 10 minutes. Before you complete your application, make sure that you use the repayment calculator to see what your monthly payment will become, and make sure that you can afford enrolling in the program. An alternative, once again, is using Summer, which Ella will be talking about shortly. It is not only easier and more effective, but it is also a free member benefit for union members. Finally, remember, you never have to pay someone to enroll you in any of these plans, and please do not. If you are contacted by a company trying to charge you, let us know and file a complaint with the State Attorney General, and we can help you do that. So, you know, I'm telling you guys about all these great things about income-driven repayment plans, but what are the pros and cons for real, right? So let's talk about the cons first. First, under current IRS rules, you may be required to pay income tax on any amount that is forgiven. There are many exceptions to determine if the amount forgiven will be treated as taxable income, and you should talk to your financial advisor to see about your specific financial situation. Next, you may also wind up paying more interest under these plans than under the 10-year standard repayment plan, because the payment period is extended 20 to 25 years instead of the 10 years. This isn't the case for everyone, especially those who qualify for public student loan forgiveness, but you should look at the numbers in your particular financial situation to figure out what's best for you. Now let's talk about the pros of income-driven repayment plans. So income-driven repayment plans is like a safety net for student loans. You can always pay more to minimize your payment and pay off your student loan earlier. But in months where something unexpected happens, and you'll be a lot more flexible. Paying more than your minimum will not affect will not affect you. However, this option may not be for you if you are trying for public service loan forgiveness, which we'll discuss in a second. These plans are also better for most borrowers than programs like deference or forbearance. If you're unemployed or in between jobs, you will be asked to pay $0 a month in any income-driven repayment plans, and that'll keep you current on your loans and moving forward to eventual discharge of your loans. Again, you just need to recertify your income if you lose your job or lose income. The final pro is that these these income-driven repayment plans are necessary to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, and they work in tandem. That means you'll pay as little as possible and get the maximum forgiveness on your loan if you're enrolled in these plans in conjunction. So now we're going to talk about public service loan forgiveness program. So the public service loan forgiveness program, that could allow you to have your balance of your direct loan forgiven in 10 years tax-free. Public service loan forgiveness isn't a repayment plan like the income-driven repayment plan or pay-as-you-go. It is a separate program that incentivizes a career in public service. So for those other four payment plans, you do not need to have a career in public service. For public service loan forgiveness, you have to have a career in public service. So to qualify for the program, you will need to do the following after October 1st, 2007. Make 120 qualifying one-time payments or 10 years worth towards your direct loan, and be working in public service for at least 30 hours a week. For part-time faculty, you can combine multiple part-time public service jobs to meet that requirement. Once again, it's 120 on-time payments. You can and you can apply with the Department of Education to forgive the rest of your student loan In order to qualify, you must answer yes to these 5 questions at the same time for all 120 payments. The first question, do you work in public service? Public service is a really broad term when it comes to public service loan forgiveness. It's anyone employed by a public sector or by a qualifying nonprofit. Put it another way, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters who employs you. Qualifying public service employers can be any level of government, federal, state, county, municipal, tribal, or public school districts, public hospitals, and public institutions of higher education. As long as you're employed and paid by any level of government or by a 501c3 nonprofit institution, you should meet these requirements. So let's go through a few examples. Let's say someone is a professor at Harvard University. Even though Harvard is a private university, it is a 501c3 nonprofit. So that person would qualify for these loans. Let's say, California community colleges are public institutions. Therefore, faculty and staff who are employed at, let's say, the Los Rios Community College District would all qualify as well. What about a professor at University of Phoenix? That is a no. They would not qualify because University of Phoenix is a private for-profit college system. So even though all 3 of these workers are professors, only 2 of them would be eligible because they work for a public or nonprofit schools. So it doesn't matter if you're a janitor, security guard, secretary, faculty member, dean, as long as you work in public service, you would qualify. So one last time, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters who employs you. So this is why privatization is so harmful for public sector workers. If you let's say, worked at the state of Kansas, for example, and your job or position was privatized or outsourced to a company, you would no longer qualify for public service loan forgiveness if you stayed in that position. This is one of the many reasons we fight through our unions to protect public services and the work that's being done from being outsourced to other companies. So next question, do you work full-time? In order to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, you have to work full-time. This is described as at least 30 hours a week for at least 8 months out of the year, but can also be what your employer defines as full-time, as long as it meets these minimum requirements. You are able to combine hours at multiple public service employers. To do that, you would need to have each employer sign a certification form for you to be able to combine all of those. And if you do that, you want to send them all in at the same time so that there is no confusion as to what's happening. The next question, does your student loan qualify? Only direct loans are eligible for public service loan forgiveness. If you have a FFEL Stanford loan or a Parent Plus loan right now, you can consolidate it into a direct consolidation loan. If you don't consolidate, any payments you make won't count towards public service loan forgiveness. You just need to go to studentloans.gov and it'll take you about 30 minutes to complete the form. Great. So then the next question, does your repayment plan qualify? Only the income-driven repayment plans that we discussed in the previous section and the 10-year standard repayment plan qualify for public service loan forgiveness. But you don't want to be in the 10-year standard repayment plan. Why is that? Because once again, if you are planning to use public service loan forgiveness and you're trying to do this 10-year standard repayment plan, all of your loans will basically be paid for in 10 years. So there'll be nothing to forgive. So again, if you're making the 120 payments that are on time every single month and you're in a standard 10-year repayment plan, there will be no payments. There's no loan to forgive afterwards. So you want to make sure that you're under one of the other repayment plans. So take advantage of the public service loan forgiveness if you want to minimize your monthly payment by enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan so you can maximize your loan forgiveness at the end of the day. And finally, do your payments qualify? In order to have your loan forgiven, you must make 120 qualifying on-time payments. That mean once you receive your bill, you must pay the exact amount of the payment within 15 days of the due date. It is critical, I'm going to say it's critical one more time, to double check that you're making on-time payments. Millions of borrowers are consistently 1 month behind on their payments without even knowing it. The Department of Education calls these rolling late payers. They are in a situation where every single month they are paying a few days late, or they missed a single payment 1 year and they don't even know it. And then that causes every single payment to be considered a late payment. That means that they're trying to build, if they're trying to build towards public service loan forgiveness, none of those payments will count. Also be careful not to pay extra on your loan if you're hoping to get public service loan forgiveness. Extra payments are typically credited towards future payments, which are called pay-aheads payments. That means when you make an extra payment, it's not considered an on-time payment, but rather an early payment. And that also won't go towards your 120 payments required for for loan forgiveness. You must make on-time payments for the exact amount that the exact amount of your payment to qualify. You shouldn't pay a penny more, a penny less, a day early, or a day late on those bills. If you can answer yes to each of these questions for all 120 payments, you should be set for public service loan forgiveness. So let's review one more time. As long as you make on-time payments in an income-driven repayment plan on your direct loan while working full-time in public service, you should be eligible to have your direct loan forgiven tax-free after making 120 payments. If you can answer yes to all 5 questions right now, there are steps you can take to qualify, but you should act now. Otherwise, you will wind up paying more than you have to. There are a few more things that we want to share about public service loan forgiveness before we move into questions, before we move into summer and then questions. First, these payments do not need to be consecutive. Sorry about that. If you switch jobs or need to take time off of work, you're not going to be penalized. If you were at 100 qualifying payments and then you missed 1 month, you don't have to start over. The next on-time payment would count towards your 101st payment, and that means you have. That means if you have public service, but come back in at a later time, if you leave public service and then come back at a later time, you can still pick up where you left off. The good news is that this works retroactively too. So any payments that you've made on time in a qualifying repayment plan on a direct loan while working full-time in public service after October 2007 will be counted towards your 120 total payments. After some of these student debt clinics, I've found that folks have actually finished and they're really excited and they didn't even know it. So really go ahead and check with your servicer to make sure. So if you're been able to answer yes to all 5 of these questions for the past few years and are only enrolled in public service loan forgiveness, those past payments should count towards your loan forgiveness as well. So how to certify? Fill out the employment certification form. This is going to be in your resource guide that I'm going to share with you all after this. While this form looks long and confusing, don't worry. You only need to complete page 1, which is the contact information on the top right corner, and sign it at the bottom. Then write your name and social security number on the top of page 2. Then you can take it to your human resources department or whomever your employer designates to fill it out, and they complete the second page. After page 2 is complete, you will mail or fax the form to Fed Loan Servicing. Fed Loan Servicing is the only student loan servicer that has the ability to count payments that qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So you'll need to send them the form. The address that you send the form is on page 4 of the certification form. Before you send it, double check for any mistakes on the form. Common problems is that the employer forgets to check the box on line 6 that says you're still employed there. After you have 120 payments, submit your public service loan forgiveness application. You must be working full-time in public service when you apply. You can find this application on the studentloan.gov website. It is also important to note that the current process of certifying eligibility into public service loan forgiveness is slow, frustrating, and in flux. According to media accounts, borrowers are reporting that Fed Loan Servicing is taking up to 12 months to process, if not more at this point. This was a sentence that was written before COVID, to process public service loan forgiveness employment certification forms to confirm eligibility for the program. Don't let these bureaucratic hurdles delay or discourage you. It's worth the hassle to have all of your student loan debt wiped out after 120 qualifying on-time payments. Remember, no matter who your current servicer is, send the employment certification form to Fed Loan Servicing for processing. Again, the address is going to be on the top of page 4 on that resource guide. Pay attention to correspondence from that servicer and get back to them quickly as well. Other important tips that we're going to go ahead and cover, I think, Nicole, it's 1 or 2. There we go. Yeah. Call your servicer. Loan servicers are paid by the Department of Education, if you can believe it, to help you through this, through these options. Make them do their jobs and hold them accountable as they're helping you navigate this system. If your servicer is giving you inaccurate information or is trying to talk you out of applying for these programs, you should file a complaint with the State Attorney General and Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. And again, if you contact us, we can help you with that. Again, you must recertify your income for income-driven repayment plans every year. If you do not, you will remain enrolled in the plan, but your monthly payments will be reverted back to the 10-year standard repayment plan. And remember, you should recertify your income immediately if your income goes down or the number of folks that depend on you goes up, either one. We also recommend you certify for public service loan forgiveness eligibility every 6 months. Doing it every 6 months will allow you to keep track of how many qualifying payments you have made towards public service loan forgiveness and allow you to catch up on any problems before they derail you. Fed Loan Servicing will notify you of how many qualifying payments you've made each time you send them this form. Even though we recognize that the Fed Loan Servicing may not respond to you in a timely manner, you should still do it because, again, you're hoping to get the rest of that loan forgiven. So you want to make sure you're keeping your on-time payments, 120 on-time payments to be exact. Keep track of everything. Many people have disagreed with Fed Loan Servicing about how many qualifying payments they made. If you're on the phone doing good, if you're one of the people doing good work and in the world and counting on this program, don't just trust what you've been told by them. Print everything, ask for verification in writing, keep your own account of payments. Public service loan forgiveness is only effective if people carry out the program and hold folks accountable that are participating in that program. During the Q&A, Nicole maybe can talk a little bit about the lawsuit that we filed against Betsy DeVos. The only way we were able to file this lawsuit is because AFT members throughout the country kept very, very accurate notes about what was going on and was able to present that in the courtroom as well. So those are really, really important in all of our fights, for you all to continue to make sure that you get your loans forgiven, and for us to continue on the state and national level to encourage lawmakers to make these changes to the law. The last thing I want to recommend is for moving before we move into the Q&A is again an AFT member benefit called Summer, and then these are some other websites that you might be interested in. I'm sorry if I haven't been paying attention, but Ella, have you joined us already?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and switch to Summer now, but let me give her access to be able to share her screen. Give me 1 second.
I believe I can, if you're comfortable with me just jumping right in.
Oh, I'm totally fine with that. I think I need to make you a co-host though, because this is the webinar. There you go. You're all set. So if you want to turn your video on, Ella, people will be able to see you, and then you can go ahead and share your screen now too.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Sorry to be running a little bit late, but I'm very, very happy to be here, and it's wonderful to meet you all. I'm going to just share a little bit about Summer. I know that Valerie shared some incredible background and context around all of the many different ways that you can really take control of your debt and enroll in programs that are really out there to help you save money and time and just really reduce your total debt load. We've partnered with the AFT to really kind of simplify this entire process for you. You just for ease of reference, like if you take anything away from this, from what I'm sharing of this presentation, you can sign up for Summer today and try it out if you go to aft.org/benefits/summer. So let me just show you a little bit more about, about what we do. So everything that Valerie was kind of talking through, our goal is to really make sure that we are getting AFT members, which we've already enrolled over 10,000 AFT members across the country, into IDR, into public service loan forgiveness, all directly through our platform on Summer Online. And that can be accessed through your computer or through your mobile phone. So we're saving members around $320 a month just by checking eligibility for these programs that Valerie so diligently went through. So that is across all of the different umbrella types of income-driven repayment programs, but also public service loan forgiveness and also teachers loan forgiveness, which we've had many different members actually receive forgiveness before they made any payments. So that is a really huge benefit. What you do with Summer is you compare your options near and long term, and then we actually, that process that Valerie was kind of walking you through, we have that all done for you digitally. So, making sure that you're not making any of those costly mistakes across filling out the forms. It's really time intensive. It's really intimidating, at least in my experience, just to really make sure that you're doing it all right. We have the quality assurance behind our team of student loan experts to really make sure you're filling out the forms right. All of the information is accurate. You're not even looking at the forms until you know for sure that you are eligible. And then really actually like taking on the submission process of it for you. So making sure that you can actually, know and trust that like you put in your right information and someone else can help you to not only get it to your employer to do the final signatures, but also get it to your servicer. I have slides and things that I wanted to share, but I think just for purpose of time, I actually wanted to show you just how easy it is once you actually are in Summer, because I know that there's a lot of questions, and I know Nicole started to speak to, this is a very unique time. There is forbearance and there is deferment of interest rates and many different things that are unique to the Act through the end of the year. So I just wanted to kind of give you an experience of, this is how easy it is to start with Summer. After you go to aft.org/benefits/summer, you sign in through your member ID, we will take you to create an account. This is the welcome page. As you can see, all of our guidance and all of our recommendations for what you're eligible for and what you should consider applying for is reflected on not only what's the latest with the policy for the CARES Act and you know, the different benefits that may be available to you if you have the right types of loans. I'm not sure, you know, how much we went into this, but there are many, many different types of loans that are actually not covered by the CARES Act, including FFEL loans and private loans. So we can help you to consider that. So let me just show you a little bit. We ask you a few questions around your education, if you're having a hard time making payments, your expected annual income this year, how many people are in your family. So definitely make sure you include your spouse or any dependents, what state you live in. As Valerie mentioned, just really making sure that if you are in a nonprofit or public service employer, then that you tell us that. Your credit score in case you want to be considering refinancing. If your loans are in default, I think, you know, I'm just for the purposes of this example, I'll just say that they're not, but if you are in default, we can help you to figure out how to get it out of default. And then if you are in currently an IDR program, so just with those 6 or 7 questions, we are able to analyze and make a recommendation around what program to go into. So this is what summer looks like. So basically we want to make sure that you are focusing on the programs that, you know, Valerie outlined so clearly that will really get you to savings as quickly as possible. So just from those few questions of that $50,000 income and your debt load, we recommend that you should consider IDR and that your estimated payment after the CARES Act is released would be $201 after December 31st. So to actually start into that process, we can help you, oh man, to actually enroll. And so what you would be able to do is really just actually consider, let me just make sure, sorry. You would actually be able to consider and actually go through with the application here, fill out the form directly here. I'm not going to walk you through all of that because it may take a little bit more time, but you can see that like the payments and the interest suspensions are all included. You can actually apply for public service loan forgiveness directly. If you have multiple employers, we can take track of all of that different information. And then you can also see what other potential forgiveness may be eligible to you because you live in California, because you're a teacher. If you have both federal and private, you can really learn a little bit more about different other cancellation or forgiveness programs available to you. We also at any time have our resource center. So, you know, anytime that you want to kind of like dig a little bit deeper into what do we mean, all of the resources that you know, Valerie went through, we really want to complement that and really make sure that you have a way to not only access this resource center and go through all the advantages, disadvantages, eligibility, and actually apply, but also contact our team. So anytime, you know, you want to ask about deferment, you can really, I spelled that wrong. You can really go in, see our help center or contact the team and make sure that, you know, usually if someone's on chat, you can actually chat with them here, send an email or jump on a phone call with them as well. So we have really saved AFT members and CFT members thousands of dollars and really would love to have all of you join in, and I'm happy to answer any questions directly after this, but I will stop there, Valerie.
Great, thank you so much, Ella. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat already. So if Nicole and Ella, if you guys could turn your videos back on, all 3 of us are gonna be in the hot seat to answer these questions. So I'm actually gonna, since it's a smaller group and there's not a ton of questions, I'm going to have folks actually just tell us their questions instead of reading them from the chat. So the first one is from Saeed. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk, Saeed. So why don't you go ahead and give us your question?
Hi, thank you so much for this gathering. Although I have been, I graduated in 2009 and I have over like almost right now $300,000 of student loan, and I've been
Wait 1 second. I'm just going to pause the recording right now. So this doesn't get into the recording. So just give me 1 second.